The disturbing signal. The cold silence of space stretched infinitely around the human colony of Vanter Station, located on the farthest edge of the galaxy. It was a place where nothing ever happened. No wars, no excitement, just the quiet hum of machines and the distant twinkle of stars. The colony was home to explorers, scientists, and engineers who had long grown used to the emptiness. However, one ordinary day turned into anything but ordinary. Inside the main control room, Lieutenant Zora watched the monitors, bored and half asleep. Her shift had been uneventful, just like the hundreds of others she had worked before. Suddenly, a soft beeping sound echoed through the room. Zara, startled, leaned forward, narrowing her eyes at the screen. The signal was faint but steady, pulsing from the depths of space. She hadn't seen anything like it before. "What is that?" she muttered to herself, tapping the console. The system couldn't immediately identify it. Curious, she initiated a deeper scan. The results came back quickly, and her blood ran cold. The signal was originating from an unknown object, a massive dark ship that had been lurking on the outskirts of their scanning range. How had they never noticed it before? It seemed impossible for something that big to remain hidden. Even more troubling, there were no identifying markers, no communication beacons, no signs of life on board. It was as if the ship had been drifting in silence for eons. Zara's fingers danced across the control panel as she opened a channel to the chief officer. "Commander Hale, you need to see this." Within minutes, Commander Hale, a tall, stern man with silver streaks in his hair, strode into the room. His sharp eyes locked onto the display, scanning the data Zara had gathered. His expression remained unreadable, but Zara could feel the tension radiating from him. "This is unexpected," Hale finally said, his voice low. "Have you been able to identify the source?" Zara shook her head. "No, sir. It doesn't match anything in our records. No known species, no ship design we've encountered before. It's strange." Hale crossed his arms, his gaze fixed on the blinking dot that represented the mysterious vessel. "How long has it been there?" "I'm not sure. Our long-range scanners just picked it up, but it could have been sitting there for ages, cloaked or something." The commander frowned. "Get a team together. We need to investigate this immediately." Within the hour, a small but skilled team had assembled in the docking bay. They included engineers, scientists, and a few soldiers for protection, just in case. Among them was Captain Marcus, a seasoned pilot with years of experience navigating the unknown. He glanced over the group, his face set in a grim expression. The crew seemed uneasy, exchanging nervous glances. No one liked the idea of boarding a ghost ship, especially one that had appeared so mysteriously. As the crew prepared for launch, Zara stood nearby, her mind racing with questions. What kind of ship could this be? Why had it been hidden? And most importantly, was it dangerous? Minutes later, the exploration vessel detached from Vanter Station, engines roaring to life. It was a small, nimble craft designed for scouting and quick missions, nothing like the massive warships humans used in more hostile parts of the galaxy. The crew sat in silence, the tension thick in the air as they neared the dark shape in the distance. The black ship loomed before them, much larger than they had anticipated. It was pitch black, almost absorbing the light from the stars around it. The surface was smooth, with no visible entry points or windows. It seemed more like a giant shadow than a ship, and the silence was deafening. Captain Marcus guided their ship carefully alongside the massive vessel, scanning for any signs of activity. "No life signs," he reported, his voice calm but serious. "The ship's completely dead." "Dead or dormant," murmured Dr. Kara, a scientist on the team, her curiosity piqued despite the fear creeping into her voice. The crew watched in awe as their ship docked with the black vessel, a soft thud signaling their successful connection. The docking doors hissed open, revealing the dark, cold interior of the alien ship. It was vast and eerily empty, as though it had been abandoned long ago. The walls were smooth, black like the outside, and no lights flickered to life as the humans stepped inside. Zara's heart pounded in her chest as she followed the team, the silence pressing in on them. Every step echoed unnervingly in the vast, hollow halls of the ship. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The team fanned out, scanning their surroundings, but there was nothing. No power, no sound, no signs of any previous inhabitants. "This place is ancient," Dr. Kira whispered, running her hand along the smooth wall. "But so advanced. I've never seen anything like this." The rest of the team shared her unease. They were explorers, but even seasoned adventurers couldn't shake the feeling that they were trespassing in a place not meant for them. Something about the ship felt wrong, unnatural, but no one spoke of it aloud. Not yet. As they ventured deeper into the ship, their lights flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. And somewhere, in the darkest corners of the vessel, something began to stir. The echoes of the past. The eerie silence of the black ship weighed heavily on the team as they ventured deeper into its cold, empty corridors. The only sound was the soft hum of their equipment and the occasional whisper of their boots against the metal floor. Every hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, and the darkness felt like it was swallowing them whole. Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced over at Captain Marcus, who led the way with a calm demeanor, but his tense posture gave away his unease. The rest of the crew kept close behind him, their eyes darting around, scanning for anything unusual. So far, they had found no signs of life, but the oppressive silence was unsettling. Dr. Kira, the team's scientist, was fascinated by the strange architecture of the ship. The walls were smooth, made of a material unlike anything she had seen before. It absorbed their lights rather than reflecting them, making the ship feel even darker than it was. "This material," she whispered, "it's beyond our understanding. It's like the ship is alive, or it was at some point." Commander Hale, who had remained quiet for most of the exploration, finally spoke up. "Alive? You think this ship was organic?" Kyra shook her head slightly. "Not exactly, but it feels biological in some way, like it's more than just metal and tech. Whoever built this was far more advanced than us." As they moved further in, strange markings began to appear on the walls, symbols and patterns that none of them could understand. They seemed almost ancient, as if the ship had been floating through the void for millennia. Zara paused, her eyes narrowing at one of the symbols. It looked like a handprint, but not human. Too many fingers, too long. She shuddered and hurried to catch up with the group. "Do you think this is a warship?" One of the soldiers, Private Jensen, asked nervously, his voice echoing in the hollow corridor. "If it is, it's like nothing we've ever encountered," Captain Marcus replied, his voice steady but grim. "But I'm starting to think it's not just a ship. There's something more to it." They reached a large chamber that opened up into what seemed like a central hub. The room was vast, with a high ceiling that disappeared into the shadows above. In the center of the room stood a massive structure, something that resembled an altar or a control station, though it was unlike anything they had seen before. It was covered in the same strange markings they had seen in the corridors, and at its center, a large black orb floated silently, pulsing with a faint, eerie glow. Dr. Kira's breath caught in her throat as she approached the orb. This could be the ship's core. It's still active, even though everything else is dead. Commander Hale stepped forward cautiously. "Be careful. We don't know what we're dealing with." But Kara was already scanning the orb, her eyes wide with curiosity. "This energy signature, it's incredible. It's not like anything we have in our technology. It's stable, but chaotic, like it's holding back something." As she spoke, the orb suddenly flickered, and a low hum filled the air. The team froze, watching as the pulsing light grew brighter for a brief moment before dimming again. Zara's heart raced. It felt like the ship had just woken up. "We should leave," Private Jensen muttered, his voice shaking. "I don't like this." Captain Marcus frowned but didn't disagree. Kyra, can you? Before he could finish, a deep, resonating sound filled the room. It was a voice, though none of them could understand the words. The sound echoed through the chamber, vibrating through their bones. The team exchanged panicked glances. The ship was speaking. "What is that?" Zara whispered, her hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. "I think it's a message," Kyra replied, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. "But I can't translate it. It's too alien." Commander Hale took a step back, his face pale. "We need to get out of here. Now." But before they could move, the room shuddered, and the walls seemed to pulse with energy. The symbols on the walls lit up, glowing with an unnatural light. The ship was waking up, and whatever had been dormant for so long was stirring once again. Suddenly, the orb in the center of the room flared to life, and beams of light shot out in every direction, scanning the room. Zara ducked behind a pillar, her heart pounding in her chest. The light passed over them, but didn't seem to detect their presence. It was as if the ship was scanning for something or someone. Kyra, who had been studying the orb closely, gasped. "This isn't just a ship, it's a weapon. A living weapon." Captain Marcus's face hardened. "We're leaving. Now." But just as they turned to head back to their ship, the massive doors they had entered through slammed shut with a deafening crash. They were trapped. "We need to find another way out," Commander Hale barked, his voice filled with urgency. The team scattered, searching for an exit, but the walls had sealed up, and the glowing symbols seemed to shift and change, as if the ship was reconfiguring itself. It was alive, and it wasn't letting them go easily. As the crew frantically tried to find an escape, the ship continued to pulse with energy, the alien voice growing louder. And in the center of it all, the orb flickered again, casting an eerie light across the room. It was almost as if the ship was preparing for something. Something ancient, powerful, and deadly. The ancient memory. The crew, now trapped within the black ship's vast, ominous chambers, huddled together, their nerves frayed by the ship's sudden awakening. The pulsing orb in the center of the room flickered rhythmically, casting ghostly shadows across the walls. It seemed to thrum with life, as if the ship itself was drawing breath. Captain Marcus clenched his jaw, his mind racing for solutions. "We need to stay calm," he said, though his own voice betrayed a hint of unease. "Kyra, is there anything you can decipher from that thing?" Dr. Kira stared at the orb, her scientific curiosity warring with the fear gnawing at her insides. "It's transmitting something. I'm trying to capture the frequency, but it's..." Before she could finish, the lights from the orb intensified, and a sharp crackling filled the air. Suddenly, the room shifted. The crew gasped as the solid walls of the ship seemed to fade, replaced by a swirling vision of stars and distant galaxies. They were no longer standing in the heart of the ship, but floating in a sea of ancient memories. "What the hell is happening?" Zara whispered, gripping her weapon tightly. "This isn't real," Kyra said, eyes wide as she scanned the starry expanse. "I think we're inside some kind of projection. The ship is showing us something." The stars shimmered, and before their eyes, a massive fleet of alien ships emerged from the void. These vessels were unlike any the crew had ever seen. Sharp, angular designs with glowing engines that cut through space like silent predators. At the center of the fleet was a massive, dark structure, similar to the black ship they were standing in. "That looks like this ship," Commander Hale muttered, narrowing his eyes. "But bigger." Suddenly, the projection zoomed in on the central ship. Its core glowed with the same eerie light as the orb in the room. The alien fleet surrounded it, but there was something off. The energy in the vision felt wrong, unstable. As the crew watched in horror, the central ship unleashed a blinding pulse of energy, vaporizing the surrounding fleet in an instant. It was as if the ship had turned on its own kind, annihilating everything in its path. "My God," Captain Marcus whispered. "It's a weapon. A super weapon." Kyra's voice trembled as she spoke. This ship wasn't built to explore or defend. It was built to destroy. And it's been sitting here, dormant, waiting for something or someone. The vision shifted again, and now the crew found themselves standing in a desolate landscape, the ground scorched black and the skies filled with ash. In the distance, a shadowy figure emerged, walking through the devastation. As it grew closer, the figure's outline became clearer. It was humanoid, too humanoid. It's one of us, Zara said, her voice filled with disbelief. But how? The humanoid figure stepped forward, its eyes glowing with the same unnatural light as the orb. It wasn't human, not exactly, but it had the unmistakable shape of one. And in its hands, it carried a weapon unlike anything they had seen. A weapon made of the same strange, pulsating material as the ship. This can't be, Kyra breathed. This technology, it's too advanced. How could something like this exist, tied to us? Suddenly, the vision dissolved, and the crew found themselves back in the cold, metallic chamber of the black ship. The orb flickered weakly, its energy dimming. For a moment, all was silent. Captain Marcus spoke first, his voice hoarse. What was that? What did we just see? Kyra shook her head, still trying to process what had happened. I think we saw a memory, the ship's memory. It was showing us its past, what it was built for. A weapon of mass destruction, Hale muttered. And somehow, we're connected to it. Before anyone could respond, the orb flared again, and a soft, rhythmic pulse echoed through the room. It was slower this time, almost like a heartbeat. The alien voice from before returned, but this time it wasn't as hostile. It was calm, deliberate. The ship's communicating, Kyra said, but I still can't translate it. Suddenly, Zora's comm device crackled to life. A distorted voice came through, though the message was clear. Return to your origins. Bring balance. The weapon must not awaken. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Captain Marcus's face darkened. It's not just a weapon. There's more at stake here. Whatever this thing is, it's tied to something bigger than we understand. Kyra, still staring at the now dimming orb, spoke quietly. We're not just dealing with alien technology. We're dealing with something ancient, something that's been hidden for a reason. Hale crossed his arms, his usual bravado shaken. So what now? Do we destroy it? Shut it down before it can wake up again? The captain shook his head. No, we need more information. We can't just destroy something we don't fully understand. There's too much at risk. As they stood in the cold silence of the chamber, the ship's eerie presence weighed heavily on them. Whatever this vessel was, whatever its purpose, it was far more dangerous than they had realized. And now, the crew was entangled in its dark, ancient legacy, the hidden agenda. The crew, still shaken from the unsettling vision, moved cautiously through the corridors of the black ship. The eerie hum of the vessel had become a constant background noise. But now it felt more alive, as though the ship was watching their every move. The faint glow of the orb in the central chamber had dimmed further, and the strange alien voice that had spoken to them earlier remained silent. Captain Marcus led the way, his hand resting on the grip of his blaster. Kyra, any updates from that device? Can we decipher what the ship's trying to tell us? Dr. Kira, still poring over the readings on her portable scanner, shook her head. The language is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's complex, and I'm starting to think it wasn't just meant for aliens. There's something familiar in its structure, but I can't put my finger on it yet. Zara, following closely behind, glanced over her shoulder at the darkened passage behind them. I come like this. That vision back there, it showed something tied to us. That figure, that weapon, it looked too human for comfort. And why would a ship like this even exist? Commander Hale grunted, his usual confident stride tempered by caution. I don't care who built it, or why. What I want to know is, why were we sent here? Command didn't give us the full picture. This was supposed to be a salvage mission, But this ship's clearly more than just an old wreck. As they continued deeper into the ship, the temperature dropped, and the walls became slick with condensation. A faint, rhythmic pulsing echoed through the halls, like the beating of a heart. Growing stronger with each step they took, the crew's unease mounted. Suddenly, the narrow corridor opened into a vast chamber. It was unlike anything they had seen before, a colossal room filled with towering monoliths, each covered in intricate alien symbols. At the far end of the chamber was a massive console, glowing faintly in the dim light. Captain Marcus raised his hand, signaling the crew to stop. "This has to be the ship's control center," he muttered. "But what are these things?" Kyra approached one of the monoliths, her eyes wide with fascination. "These are data terminals," she said, running her hand over the cool surface. "They're storing something, information, maybe memories of the ship's creators." Hale frowned. "If this ship is a weapon, why would they leave this kind of information out in the open?" "Maybe they didn't expect anyone to find it," Kyra replied, her fingers dancing over the alien controls. The monolith responded, lighting up as it activated. A holographic display flickered to life, showing rows upon rows of data in the same strange language they had seen before. As Kyra worked to translate the information, Zara kept her eyes on the shadows, her grip tightening on her rifle. "We're being led somewhere," she said under her breath. "This ship didn't just wake up on its own. Something or someone is guiding us." Captain Marcus nodded. "I've been thinking the same thing. The signal we picked up, the ship's activation, the vision, all of it feels like part of a plan. But whose?" Before anyone could answer, the holographic display flashed, and the alien voice returned, but this time it was different. It spoke in a language the crew could understand. "Intruders, you are not alone." Kyra gasped, stepping back from the console as the room suddenly shifted. The floor beneath them trembled, and the ship's lights flickered erratically. The monoliths glowed brighter, and the alien symbols rearranged themselves, forming a coherent message. "We were sent to find you," the voice continued. "You are the key to unlocking the weapon." Captain Marcus's eyes widened. "What does that mean?" The voice paused, as though considering its response. "The weapon was created by those who came before you. It was designed to end the war. But it requires human activation." "Human activation," Kyra repeated, her mind racing. "That explains why the ship's language feels familiar. It's based on our own." The trials of intent. The battlefield stretched before them, a chaotic tapestry of memories and choices. Marcus felt his heart race as he scanned the horizon, where shadows flickered, revealing glimpses of their past. Each member of the crew was plunged into their own private trial, forced to confront the decisions that had shaped their lives. "Stay strong," Marcus whispered, though he felt a growing sense of dread. Suddenly, the scene shifted, and he found himself standing in the center of a war-torn city, smoke rising from the rubble. It was a place he knew well, a battlefield where he had lost friends and comrades in the fight against alien forces. The echoes of gunfire and the cries of the wounded filled the air, bringing back the pain of those memories. In the distance, he spotted a figure struggling beneath the debris. It was a soldier, pinned down and desperate for help. Marcus hesitated. The choice lay heavy on his shoulders. He could run to help and risk exposing himself to enemy fire, or he could stay safe and preserve his own life. "Help him," a voice urged from within. It was the voice of his late mentor, urging him to do the right thing. With a deep breath, Marcus sprinted toward the trapped soldier, dodging debris and gunfire. When he reached him, he gripped the rubble, feeling the weight of it press against him. "Hold on, I'll get you out." With all his strength, he pushed against the debris, recalling the faces of those who depended on him. He could not abandon another person to die. Slowly, he freed the soldier, pulling him to safety just as a blast rocked the ground behind them. "Why did you save me?" The soldier gasped, looking up at Marcus with wide eyes. "We're losing." "There's no hope." "There is always hope," Marcus replied, his voice steady. We must keep fighting for each other. That's what makes us strong. As the soldier's face shifted from despair to determination, the scene faded, and Marcus felt himself being pulled back. The darkness receded, and he found himself standing among his crew once more. Did you face your trial? Kyra asked, her expression anxious. I did, Marcus replied, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. I had to choose between saving a life and preserving my own. I chose to save him. Before they could discuss further, the battlefield morphed again, this time revealing Kyra's trial. She stood in a laboratory, surrounded by her research and the memories of a past experiment that had gone horribly wrong. A creature, once a small test subject, now loomed large and menacing, fueled by her reckless ambition. Kyra, Marcus shouted, you can face this. The creature snarled, its eyes filled with rage, and lunged at her. You made me like this, it roared, echoing her own guilt. I didn't mean to, she cried, trying to defend herself. I just wanted to help. Help? The creature laughed bitterly. You created a monster. You didn't consider the consequences. In that moment, Kyra had to confront her motivations. Would she run away from her creation, or would she stand firm and take responsibility for her actions? With resolve, she met the creature's gaze. I will fix this. I will make amends for my mistakes. As she spoke, the creature paused, its anger shifting to uncertainty. Amends. Can a monster find redemption? Yes, Kyra declared, her voice unwavering. I will find a way to change you back. With those words, the creature dissolved into light, and Kyra was pulled back to the battlefield, her expression one of newfound determination. Yes, Kyra affirmed, gripping her weapon tightly. We've come this far. We can't turn back now. Zara nodded, her eyes shining with resolve. Let's finish this and protect humanity. The portal glowed brighter, pulling them into a whirlwind of light and energy. Moments later, they emerged on the other side, standing in a vast chamber filled with advanced alien technology. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the air crackled with energy. Before them loomed the central control console, pulsating ominously. The enemy, the Zarkari, a ruthless alien race, stood before them, their leader towering and menacing. You foolish humans, the Zarkari leader boomed, his voice echoing through the chamber. You think you can wield the weapon of power and control us. You are nothing but insects beneath our feet. Marcus stepped forward, his heart pounding but his voice steady. We're not here to control you. We're here to protect our people and end this conflict once and for all. The Zarkari leader laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down their spines. You're brave, human, but bravery does not equate to victory. Your weapon is ours to command. As he raised his hand, the console reacted, sending waves of energy coursing through the room. The crew felt their energy drain, and the shadows of despair threatened to engulf them. Stand strong, Kyra shouted, trying to rally her companions. We've faced our fears. We can't give in now. Marcus closed his eyes, remembering the trials they had faced. The visions of their pasts had shaped them, and he knew they had the strength to fight back. We are not alone, he declared, channeling his energy into the weapon they had fought so hard to understand. As the Zarkari leader unleashed a blast of energy, Marcus raised the weapon, its core glowing with power. We will not be defeated, he roared, redirecting the energy toward the alien leader. The two forces collided, creating a shockwave that shook the chamber. Light and darkness danced around them, a fierce struggle between their intentions and the Zarkari's ambition. Zara, feeling the weight of their combined energy, joined Marcus at the console. Let's focus our power, she urged. Together, we can amplify the weapon's potential. The three of them locked hands around the weapon, feeling their energy surge. With every moment, they remembered their trials and the promise they made to use the weapon wisely. Together, we are stronger, Kyra added, and they all channeled their energy into a unified force. As the light intensified, the Zarkari leader stumbled back, his sneer replaced with shock. "What are you doing? This cannot be." "Humanity has always found a way," Marcus shouted. "We adapt, we overcome, and we protect each other." With a final surge of energy, they unleashed the power of the weapon. The blast struck the Zarkari leader with unrelenting force, engulfing him in a brilliant light. The chamber quaked as the energy surged, and the Zarkari forces began to falter. "We won't let you harm our world any longer," Marcus shouted, his voice echoing through the chaos. As the energy faded, the Zarkari leader crumbled to the ground, defeated. The remaining Zarkari soldiers hesitated, their confidence shaken. "Leave this place," Marcus commanded. "You have lost. There is no future for you here." The soldiers exchanged wary glances, slowly retreating as the power of the weapon loomed over them. The crew had triumphed, their united front a force to be reckoned with. As the chamber quieted, they turned to each other, relief washing over them. "We did it," Kyra breathed, her voice filled with disbelief. "We faced our fears, fought our battles, and emerged victorious," Zara added, a smile breaking across her face. But Marcus knew that their journey wasn't over yet. "This is just the beginning. We have to ensure that this weapon is used wisely. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands." With renewed purpose, they approached the control console. "Let's lock this down," Marcus said, activating the protocols they had studied. "We will safeguard this power." "We are humanity," Marcus declared, looking out into the stars. "We are powerful, resilient, and united. We will ensure that our darkest secrets become our greatest strengths." The crew stood together, their hearts filled with hope and determination. They had faced the unknown, uncovered the mysteries of the past, and emerged stronger than ever. Together, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, with their eyes set on the stars and the promise of a new dawn. As they worked together, sealing the weapon's energy and securing the chamber, they felt a profound connection to one another. They had not only faced their trials but had also forged an unbreakable bond, united in their mission. When they finished, a soft hum filled the chamber, and the portal reappeared, shimmering with light. "Let's go home," Zara said, her eyes sparkling with hope. As they stepped through the portal, they emerged back on their ship, the vastness of space surrounding them. The weight of their journey lingered, but they knew they had taken the first step toward a brighter future.